there, and thank you so much for joining me for this video. As you guys learned in my welcome video and in my announcement, my name is Dr. Jo Buckley, and I will have the pleasure of teaching your special COVID edition, online edition of cognitive psychology this semester. So the purpose of this video is to just kind of do a quick review of the syllabus and also to show you around the Canvas website. So what I would do if I were you is go ahead and pause this video or close it if you haven't looked over the syllabus yet. And once you have looked at the syllabus, you should watch this video, okay? So the first thing I wanted to emphasize that you'll also see in the syllabus is that this course is an online course, but it's also going to be structured to be in an asynchronous course. So what do I mean by asynchronous? Well, I mean that we will not have live Zoom sessions during our scheduled class times. So I will not ask you guys to hop on Zoom at 9:35 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays or 11:10 if you're in my second section. And there are a couple of reasons I don't typically lecture over Zoom. The most compelling reason why I don't is because of particular research findings that I've become apprised of as a cognitive psychologist. So at least two different papers published fairly recently during the COVID pandemic have suggested that students learn less when listening to a Zoom lecture as compared to a video. And one of the contributing factors to that is kind of the incidental factors that can happen, the technical difficulties, right? So maybe you lose your internet connection, or your professor is speaking into a microphone that has a lot of static. Right, so those things can be really detrimental to student learning. And the second thing that I have read is that for certain students with learning disabilities, having the opportunity to sort of pause and go back and having a very clear objective for a particular video is very helpful. And so I felt like I could meet those objectives better with a YouTube video than I could with in-person lecture, okay? So again, this course is asynchronous, and instead of us meeting for live Zoom sessions on Tuesdays and Thursdays, instead you guys are going to be able to watch a series of videos. And many of those videos were recorded by myself, so they will have the format of a traditional lecture. But I've also found other sources, TED Talks, and Psych Show podcasts and things like that, that you guys will hopefully find interesting and that will help you in developing an understanding of the material, okay? So before I go into the structure of the course and how things will be graded, one other thing I wanted to emphasize is if you're a person who doesn't do well with online courses, and particularly asynchronous instruction, I just wanted to assure you that I have office hours every single day. So I have an office hour from 12 to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday, and I'm also available, of course, during our regularly scheduled class time. So if you go through a few of my online modules and you're like, this isn't making sense, or there's too many videos and I don't know how to integrate them properly, and you would prefer for me to just straight lecture, I would be more than happy to do that. My preference would be that you at least try to go through some of the videos, but I'm more than happy to deliver a traditional lecture for you or go through the videos myself in a more synchronous format, if that is helpful for you. Okay, so if that is your preference, my job is to teach you in using all of the techniques and strategies that I have available to me. So if you would prefer synchronous instruction, please let me know, and we can meet either 2 days a week on the scheduled times or once a week or whatever frequency that you prefer. Okay? And I also wanted to encourage you on the syllabus. I have, of course, my email address, but I also have my cell phone number. So I would encourage you, if you're working on your assignments for this class and you have just a quick question, I would encourage you to, of course, you can shoot me an email, but you can also just text me if you prefer to do that. Okay? So the long and short of it is my job is to make this material as engaging and informative for you as I can. So if there's anything I can do to maybe complement your learning preferences better or offer assistance to you, please let me know. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I have the Canvas page in student view right now. So I'm just going to show you kind of how the Canvas page is organized and what sort of assignments that you'll have to complete this semester. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and open my Canvas page here. And what you'll see is that I have divided the course into modules. So in total for this course, over the course of the semester, there will be 15 modules. But for right now, you can just see modules 0 through 3. Okay, so let's look at those a little bit closer. So the only module that you will be working on for the rest of this week, right? So if you're watching this video on Thursday, the first day of classes, all that you'll have to do until next Tuesday is go through module 0. Okay, and you'll see here that module 0 is pretty simple. It's just designed to educate you on the syllabus and course policies and things like that. So really all you have to do is read the syllabus, and you'll want to read the syllabus very carefully. And at the last page of the syllabus, I have something called a syllabus signature that I need from you. Okay, so the syllabus signature just acknowledges that a syllabus is basically a contract between myself and my students. So I promise to uphold all of the policies that you see in the syllabus, and in turn, you agree to abide by them. Okay, so once you're confident that you have read the syllabus and you understand how the course is structured and what I expect from you, and again, you're welcome to ask me questions, then I would like you to sign the document and take a picture of it or a PDF or whatever is easiest for you, and upload it. So if you go from the Canvas homepage, which is where we are now, so by the way, if you don't see what is showing up on my screen, make sure that you're on either the home page or the modules page down here. But for right now, let's go to assignments. So let's say you have read the syllabus and you're ready to submit your syllabus signature. Then you would just go to assignments and they show all of your upcoming assignments here. So you'll click on syllabus signature. You'll take a photograph of your signed syllabus and then click submit assignment. Okay, and you're all set with that. Okay, so after you've read the syllabus and signed it, of course I have two other videos here. I have a welcome video where I just talk a little bit about myself and my experiences as a psychologist and a professor at Mercer. And then of course the second video is the video that you're currently watching, where I kind of dive a little bit deeper into the syllabus. Okay, so that's all you have to worry about for Thursday and Friday of this week. But starting next week, you'll have your first official online module. Okay, so module 1 is going to provide an introduction to cognition. And most of the modules that you'll see out of the 15 modules that will eventually be uploaded are going to be very similar. So at the start of module 1 here, I have what's called a module overview document. So if we click on this document, you'll see that I have all of the textbook readings that you are responsible for completing in this module. So you'll do chapter 1 of the Goldstein text, which is in the syllabus. And that's available for purchase in the bookstore. It's also available on Amazon. And if you prefer e-textbooks or electronic format, I highly recommend Vital Source. I know it sounds like I'm doing a commercial, but I use them for all of my textbooks because I don't like carrying around a heavy book bag. And I've been really impressed with the quality of their materials. And you're more than welcome to get either an ebook or a print book. The format or the type of text that you choose is entirely up to you. But you'll want to make sure to order it pretty soon if you haven't already, because you'll have textbook readings in most of the modules, right? So for next week, you're going to be reading a little bit of chapter 1, pages 4 to 15, and a little bit of chapter 11 as well. And that'll provide your introduction to cognitive psychology. And right underneath the readings, I have a chapter outline. So this is just kind of a bare bones scaffolding sort of outline. And my intention here is to give you a note-taking aid. So I think the best way to complete these modules is to begin, if there is a lab that's due in that module, which there's not very many lab assignments due, but if there is, you should complete the lab assignment first, because that is designed to kind of show you from a participant's perspective what cognitive psychology, whatever area of cognitive psychology we're talking about, whatever researchers have done in their various experiments. So first, go ahead and complete a lab. There is not a lab in Module 1 or Module 2, so you don't have to worry about that yet. So then you would proceed to reading the textbook, and then read the chapter once, and then sort of go in and fill in the outline using notes that you've taken from the textbook. There's a lot of different reasons that we'll talk about later as to why that can be a helpful strategy, right? So step one, if there isn't a lab to turn in, is to read the textbook chapters and fill in your outline with that information. And then you're going to want to go back and watch all of the lecture videos. So I know for module 1, that looks like a lot of videos, but several of these videos are actually less than 5 minutes long, okay? So what I've done in this part of the module is I've embedded some of my YouTube videos. And the reason why I choose to embed videos into Canvas for my students, as opposed to just giving them a YouTube link, is because Canvas allows you to watch videos in a more distraction-free environment. So you're not going to see things like commercials or ads. You're not going to have that sidebar, showing you related videos that you could be watching. So it's going to be significantly easier for you to focus if you watch the videos in Canvas, okay? And what you can do is when you've finished the first video, just click next and go to the second video, and so on, okay? And also, for your benefit in each module, in addition to the module overview document and all of these videos, I actually have PowerPoint slides as well for my lectures to help you take notes. So one thing I would encourage you to do is to actually download each of the PowerPoints that you're using, because then you can add notes to the notes section, but you'll also be able to see my notes. So I don't always add notes, but I often do, and that will save you time in terms of, how much effort and how much time you have to expend with note-taking, okay? All right, so now you have read the textbook for Module 1, you've opened up your outline, you've watched all of the lecture videos and taken notes in the corresponding lecture PowerPoints. And now you are ready to complete the assignments that are going to accompany most modules. So rather than having exams and various things live over Zoom, I have decided to opt for, again, online quizzes that you can complete on your own, and critical thinking questions every week. So let's go ahead and click on Module Quiz for Module 1, and you'll see that you're directed to a URL. Okay, and this URL will take you to a quiz on a survey website called Google Forms. Okay, so you'll see that this quiz is due by 11:59 p.m. on January 14th, so that's a week from tomorrow. And there's just some basic information that I'll need from you. So I'll need your email address, I'll need which section you're in, and I'll need your name, okay? And then you'll answer the questions and click submit. And that's all you have to do. So you don't actually have to upload anything for the module quiz, because Google Forms collects all of that data for me. So again, just input all of your information and click submit. Usually you will receive a receipt, so Google sends that to you automatically. If you do not receive a receipt, go ahead and email me and I will check to make sure that I have your quiz information. And you'll want to do that because I do not accept late quizzes or late critical thinking questions. So you'll want to make sure you get it submitted on time. And quizzes are going to be due every week that there is an online module, and they're going to be due on Thursdays by 11:59 p.m. So let's go back to Module 1. And your last assignment is going to be your critical thinking questions. So these critical thinking questions are very similar to the sorts of questions you might get on an exam, right? So if we were having class in person right now, I would probably give you a final exam and a midterm exam, or maybe even an exam every couple of months. And these are the sort of questions I would ask you in that in-person format. So instead of doing an online exam, you're going to just complete your exam questions one module at a time. Okay? So what you're going to want to do when you are tackling your critical thinking questions. First of all, you can choose any of the prompts that you want. So there are 4 questions available in Module 1, and you only have to do 2 of them. So you can choose whichever 2 of these 4 questions you want to answer. But there's going to be some guidelines. So the first guideline is that each of your answers to the 2 questions must be 250 words, okay? So 250 words per response, which means that once you've completed your 2 questions, you'll have a total of 500 words written, which is about 2 pages double-spaced. And you're also going to want to be really careful to proofread. 1, to make sure that you don't have any grammatical mistakes or punctuation errors or anything like that, because I will be checking for basic writing proficiency. And number 2, you're going to want to proofread to make sure that you've answered all of the components of the question, because for most of these critical thinking questions, there are actually multiple things that I'm asking you in a single prompt. So you want to make sure that you have answered the question completely. And a third consideration is that I do not want answers copied straight out of the textbook or answers copied right out of my lecture notes, okay? So what I'm looking for is evidence that you have thought about this and that you know it well enough to put it in your own words, okay? And I do have a fairly strict plagiarism policy, particularly for articles and textbooks. So for example, if I find that you have, in your answering of these questions, you've just literally copied and pasted paragraphs from the textbook or paragraphs from a research article, I will be able to find that out. Mercer does have Turnitin, which is a plagiarism detector. And I will unfortunately have to give you a 0 if I do discover that. So if you have questions about what constitutes plagiarism, or perhaps when you can use things like verbatim definitions, or other considerations like that, feel free to email me. I'm very happy to, especially during the first couple weeks of class, to look over your critical thinking questions if you have any concerns, and give you feedback on them. Okay? Okay. So that completes Module 1, and it again kind of exemplifies what you'll see in most of the 15 modules that you'll complete this semester. So we're going to go ahead and do one module per week, which means there will be a total of 15 modules for 15 weeks. So again, for this week, for the rest of our short week, you'll have Module 0, and then starting next week, you'll go into Module 1. And again, the overarching structure is just you'll get an outline, you'll get a series of videos, you'll get PowerPoint slides for each of my lecture videos, and then you'll have your quiz link, and you will have your critical thinking questions link. Okay, so the same is true for cognitive neuroscience, right? We have our overview document, and that tells you again how much reading you have to do, and it gives you an outline of all of the major components. So again, when you're reading the textbook, I would encourage you to fill in that outline and also to add to it once you've watched the lecture videos. So again, for Module 2, we have a series of videos and then corresponding PowerPoints and your Module 2 quiz and your critical thinking questions, right? So again, both the module quiz and the module critical thinking questions are going to be due on Thursdays by 11:59 p.m. Okay? So for right now, I only have 3 modules uploaded, but I will add to it on a continual basis. And sometimes when you finish a module, you'll see that below it, I have something called extension. So basically what extension modules are, or it's an opportunity for you to expand on what you've learned in the previous module, okay? So for example, in Module 2, our topic is going to be cognitive neuroscience. So in our extension module, you're going to be building on some of those concepts. And so what I would like you to do in this extension module is I would like you to watch a documentary, an excellent documentary featuring one of the most prominent cognitive neuroscientists, Dr. Ramachandran, who has been working in that field and done incredible research in a number of different areas for many, many years. So for this extension assignment, you're going to watch this documentary. It's about 55 minutes long. And then you're going to read an article that talks about some of Dr. Ramachandran's research in more detail. And then you're going to complete an activity. So in part 1 of this activity, I ask you some questions about the documentary. And then in part 2, I ask you some questions about the article, okay? So again, you'll see more modules being added as we progress throughout the semester, but this just kind of gives you an idea of how the course will be structured, and I will be sending announcements and reminders and things of that nature. So one thing I did want to show you is, again, assignments. So when you're ready to complete your, your critical thinking questions, you just click here, and you'll also be able to see it in the to-do spot here, or the course calendar. So you'll have plenty of reminders for that. So we've talked about the module quizzes and the critical thinking questions, but there's a couple more ways that I evaluate your performance in this class. So let's go back to assignments and look at, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave student view so that you can see. So like I said, we've talked about module quizzes. We've talked about critical thinking questions. So one third area that you'll be evaluated on is in your lab assignments. So if you look on the course schedule in the syllabus, there are, for about maybe 4 or 5 of our modules, we have lab assignments. And those are just basic activities that I want you to complete before you read the textbook chapter and go into your critical thinking questions in your quiz. And again, those are just to kind of give you a sense of what a participant in some of the experiments that you're discussing in the module, what they experienced when they participated in the experiment. So yeah, so I think that that clarifies everything in terms of what you guys can expect and how things are organized on Canvas. The last grading category that we haven't discussed yet is the final paper. So you'll see in the syllabus I have several different options for what you can write on your final paper, but basically the overarching objective is for you to be able to apply what you've learned in this class to something in the real world. So I will give you guys about a week at the end of the semester to work on this assignment. It's only a 3 to 5 page paper, so it shouldn't be too arduous. And it's not due until May 8th, so hopefully with 1 week of the semester to work on it and the exam period, like I said, you should be able to complete it quite easily. Okay, so what I've really tried to do in this course is kind of pare down what you would typically accomplish in a semester and make it a little bit more manageable given the pandemic and everything else. Okay. All right, so again, all you guys have to worry about for our short week is Module 0, familiarizing yourself with the syllabus, watching these videos, and submitting your syllabus signature. And then starting next week, we'll begin with Module 1, and I'll send you guys reminders and additional info as needed. But if you have any questions for me, please feel free to reach out. Like I said, you can text me, email me, or we can even have a Zoom conference together if you would prefer that. So I hope you guys have a fantastic first week of classes, and I look forward to seeing you in my future videos. Take care.